Hi, today I'll be showing you how to do sound design on Filmora 12 to make your edits look more prominent and let them have a greater impact. Now before I begin, let me first tell you what sound design basically is. Sound design refers to adding individual SFX onto your clips or your audio to make them have a greater impact and make them have a sense of realism. Now, SFX or sound design can be differentiated into four broad categories. Number one being build up, number two being impact, number three being whooshes, and number four being textures. Now, let's begin with textures. Texture SFX is basically used to add depth into your clip and make it more prominent. A prime example of me adding texture would be this SFX known as clothing ruffle. Now let me show you why I have used this SFX on this particular clip. Now before I begin, let me first tell you the things that is happening in this clip. As you can see, throughout the clip Sasuke is moving. Now to add a sense of realism, I wanted to make it so that there's a sound from his clothes when he's moving, and of course there is no sound added into the anime. You'll have to add it by yourself. That's why I used this SFX, which is known as clothing ruffle, and in this particular case it has been used as a texture SFX. Now let me show you. And yes, right now it looks pretty bad because I haven't of course layered it with other SFX right now, but before adding any other SFX as well, you can see how only one SFX makes it have a sense of realism, since now you can actually hear Sasuke's movements, especially from his clothes. So that's basically texture. And of course textures can also be used together. You can of course combine impact, build up and texture to make one sick SFX, but of course it depends on your imagination and creativeness, and it also depends on the clip. Now moving on, let me tell you about whooshes. Now whooshes actually play a very integral part in SFX building, since whooshes are basically used to glue, build up and impact SFX together. Now how do we do this? We basically add whooshes after the build up or impact, or most of the time we add the whooshes over the build up and impact SFX. Now by layering whooshes into your audio clips, it brings life into your edits. Now let me show you an example on my edit right here. Now as you know, we already added this effect right here, texture. Now if I add whoosh here, you can see immediately how well it syncs with your Sasuke movie. Now of course this application is actually not purely whoosh, it's actually impact and whoosh, but I guess you get the point. Now moving on is build-ups. Build-ups are basically used to fill out empty spaces in your audio and clips. Now what I mean by empty spaces basically means that in some places your audio has a dead space. There's no audio there, or even if there is an audio, it doesn't really bring the flow to your clip. So to not break the flow, you actually add build-ups so that it can give a sense of, it can give a greater impact when the clip actually happens. Now a great example of build-up would be here. This SFX is named as build-up 1, and let me show you. As you can see, there was a build-up starting from here until the clip transitioned, and at this point it was at its peak. Now you can see how it brings excitement into the clip. After hearing this, the viewer can imagine that something is about to happen, something is about to come. So that's the main purpose of build-up. Now, last and foremost, it's impacts. Impacts are basically the same thing as build-ups, but they are placed after the build-up. Now, the reason they're placed after build-ups is because once you have built up the tension, you want the clip to have a greater impact. You just want it to go boom. So that's why we used impacts. A good example of impacts would be over here. This effect known as fire kick. See, at this point there was build-up. The build-up or the tension was at its peak, but as it transitioned, there was a huge impact into the first clip. Now this merged with build-up and your texture actually gives your clip a whole new realism, right? So that's basically why we use SFX. Now let's brush over these three effects as well. Now, glow 3, air whoosh and fire whoosh 2. Cloth 3 I've used as basically a whoosh as well, whereas my fire kick I've used as an impact and a texture. Now the reason I've used it as an impact and a texture is because you see these fire things on this girl. Well, fire kick allowed me to give this scene impact, and it also uplifted this texture because it makes sense. There's fire, so there must be some sound fires. See, now you can actually hear the sound of fires at this point. Now, air whoosh I've used as a texture and a build-up. You can see that there's the build-up here. Here it is. Now texture is because they're moving into they're transitioning into the new clip. So of course there must be some wind over in their clip. So we need to show that as well. So that's why I've used air whoosh. And last but not least is the fire whoosh. Fire whoosh has been used is as a texture only. Why? Because once again, because of these fire thingies here, that's the only reason it has been used as texture. Now you can probably guess by now, but before I had added all of these together and I was showing you individually what these effects were, they weren't sounding as good. Well, that's because that's how sound design works. You need to actually layer your sound design clips, and you need to actually combine them with other sound designs like build up, impact, texture, whooshes. Just combine them together. That's when your clip will actually shine. Otherwise, if you add only one SFX, it will not shine and it will actually make your clip worse. So before I go, my last piece of advice would be to you: test out different SFX on your clips. Now, the SFX which have worked for me might not work for your clip and your song. So do not try to copy this, but rather learn from this and combine your own imagination with Filmora and add SFX onto your clips according to your liking. Because once you try and fail, you'll eventually get one SFX which will fit over your clip and your audio, and that's the sweet spot that we're looking for. But of course it takes time and patience, so you'll have to get on the grind. Now that's it for today's video. I hope I was able to cover the basics of sound design, and it now actually proves useful to you all and gives you a basic idea on how to do sound design for your clips and edits. Well, that's it for today. I'll see you guys in the next video.